You're watching All 24 News World News Program. To the headlines. The United States hits again. Iran promises retaliation. Washington sees a deal soon, but Tehran is asking for its $24 billion first. Also in our news tonight, pilgrims brave intense heat at Arafat for the Hajj's greatest pillar. Plus, in his Eid al-Adha greeting, President Tebboune prays for Algeria's safety and an end to the Palestinian suffering. Meanwhile, 2 million in Gaza mark Eid with no sacrifices or pilgrims. And later on, Lukashenko says Belarus is looking to build advanced relations with Algeria. Algeria reaffirms backing African causes, and the African Parliament calls out foreign agendas trying to divide the continent. Welcome back. The United States announced on Tuesday it had struck what it called missile launch sites in southern Iran and boats attempting to lay mines. U.S. Central Command said the strikes were defensive, aimed at protecting American forces from what it described as Iranian threats. Iranian media reported at least 4 people were killed in a U.S. Zionist strike on a vessel or on vessels south of Karg Island, while explosions were also reported near Bandar Abbas on Monday evening. The resumption of U.S. airstrikes after several weeks of truce is a crushing blow to apparent progress in the Middle East peace talks. On the streets, Iranians remain deeply skeptical. Zarfajana reports now.
Fresh U.S. strikes on Iranian territory are once again shaking an already fragile ceasefire and casting further doubt over ongoing negotiations between Washington and Tehran. Overnight from Monday to Tuesday, the U.S. military carried out strikes on what it described as missile launch sites and vessels in southern Iran, reigniting tensions after weeks of stalled talks, threats and contradictory statements over the future of the negotiations. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps responded swiftly on Tuesday, saying it reserves the legitimate and definitive right to retaliate against any violation of the ceasefire by the United States. The IRGC also claimed its air defenses unit shot down an American MQ-9 drone and fired at a fighter jet that allegedly entered Iranian airspace. Allahu Akbar! Tehran has repeatedly accused Washington of sending mixed signals throughout the negotiations. Speaking during a press conference on Tuesday, Fatima Mohajirani once again denounced what she described as inconsistencies in the American position.
This is not the first time we've seen contradictions from the United States. One of the main problems in these negotiations has always been the inconsistency in their behavior. This is not something new.
As diplomatic uncertainty continues, many Iranians remain cautious about the ceasefire and doubtful that a lasting agreement can truly be achieved.
I think a temporary agreement is possible, but there are serious doubts that it could eventually lead to a final deal and real peace. The authorities must remain vigilant and cautious. Maybe it's better not to sign any agreement at all and simply continue on our own path. Politicians should make their decisions independently and not rely on the United States or its promises, because they never respect their commitments. That has become clear during this period.
The latest U.S. strikes come despite a ceasefire that has officially been in place since April 8 under Pakistani mediation. Both sides are still trying to reach a broader agreement aimed at ending the conflict and reopening the strategically vital Strait of Hormuz.
Iran's Supreme Leader Mojtaba Khamenei said regional powers would no longer act as shield for U.S. bases, warning that the United States would have no safe haven in the region. In a message posted on his Telegram channel on Tuesday, he vowed that Washington would have no safe haven and that the situation would not return to what it was before the war.
The clock cannot be turned back. The nations and lands of the region will no longer be a shield for American bases, and the US will no longer have a safe haven in the region. Thanks to missile capabilities and drone operation across land, air and sea, the United States and Israel were targeted. The countries of the region possess capabilities and shared interests that could serve as a foundation for a new regional and global order.
Iran condemned the U.S. attacks on its southern region Tuesday. The foreign ministry accused Washington of breaking the ceasefire. Tehran said it would not stay silent and held the United States fully accountable. A ministry statement published by IRNA said U.S. forces have carried out illegal actions since the ceasefire began in early April. It added that the latest strikes in Hormuzgan province were serious violations. The statement said the aggression came during Pakistan-mediated diplomacy and called it proof of U.S. recklessness toward Iran, the region, and the world.
The military of the United States continuing its unlawful and unjustifiable actions since the announcement of the ceasefire over the past 48 hours committed a flagrant violation of the ceasefire in the Hormuzgan region. Iran will not leave any act of mischief unanswered and will not allow the slightest hesitation in defending Iran's national sovereignty.
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said on Tuesday that a deal with Iran is still possible despite recent U.S. strikes threatening a fragile ceasefire. Speaking during a visit to India, he said there is a broad consensus on a preliminary draft and that a final agreement depends on settling remaining terms.
I think our position is well stated. The President had a very important, I think, historic call just a couple days ago with a number of leaders from the region. I think there's strong alignment and agreement on what a preliminary draft should look like. I think that, like anything with something like this, it's going to take a couple days to settle on, even down to the disagreements over a word, sentence. So we'll have to work through that. If there's going to be a deal, we're going to have to work through that. But this is, it's either going to be a good deal or there isn't going to be.
U.S. President Donald Trump said there are several options for handling Iran's stockpile of enriched uranium if a peace deal is reached in ongoing negotiations. In a post on X platform on Monday, he said he expected Iran to hand over the material to the United States for destruction, adding it could also be destroyed on site under International Atomic Energy Agency supervision. Iran's Tasnim news agency reported that a draft peace agreement with Washington contains no clause on removing nuclear materials from Iran, saying Tehran has made no commitments on the details of its nuclear file. It added that Iran rejects linking the release of its frozen assets to the nuclear issue and warned that an agreement could still fail as Tehran prioritizes ending the war. Meanwhile, Iran's Tasnim news agency reported on Tuesday that understandings with the United States include the release of around $24 billion in frozen Iranian assets abroad. It said the release is a key condition in a draft memorandum of understanding aimed at de-escalating tensions and resolving outstanding issues. It also reported that Iran's chief negotiator Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf traveled to Doha, to the Qatari capital, to discuss implementation and financial mechanisms. Pilgrims stood on the plains of Arafat from early Tuesday morning to perform the central rite of Hajj in a vast scene of devotion and prayer. Crowds also gathered at the Namra Mosque to perform the combined and shortened Dhuhr and Asr prayers and listened to the Arafat sermon in an atmosphere of calm and reflection. From sunrise to sunset, pilgrims remained in Arafat before moving to Muzdalifah to perform the combined Maghrib and Isha prayers with one adhan and two iqamas. As millions of Muslims listened to the Arafat Day sermon, the pinnacle of the pilgrimage, the Imam of the Masjid al-Nabawi Sharif, Prophet's Mosque, Sheikh Ali Bani Abdul Rahman al-Hudayfi, called for reforming the conditions of Muslims and uniting them on the path of truth. He stressed that Hajj rituals are free from political or partisan slogans, underlining that devotion toward God is the path to salvation in this life and hereafter. President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, said he hopes the Palestinian people's suffering ends and that they will eventually win. In an Eid al-Adha message to the nation, he prayed for God to protect Algeria and its people and keep security and stability. He also thanked all state institutions, agencies and staff who worked through the holiday for serving citizens and keeping public services running.
نسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى أن يحفظ حجاجنا الميامين ويتقبل منهم مناسكهم ويعيدهم سالمين غانمين وأن ينصر أهلنا في فلسطين ويرفع عنهم المعاناة. ولا يفوتني أن أتوجه بخالص شكر إلى كل الأسلاك والهيئات والطواقم المداومة خلال أيام العيد نظير تفانيهم في خدمة المواطنين وضمان استمرارية المصلحة العمومية.
For a third year in a row, Eid al-Adha is marked in Gaza without sacrificial animals as the livestock sector has collapsed under destruction and import bans. Over 2 million people are unable to perform the sacrifice amid the siege and shortages of food and aid. Marwa Bahlul has the story this time.
Amid the grim image of war, where grief have touched every family in Gaza, Eid al-Adha returns for a third year to a land exhausted by sorrow. Still, Gazan women never stopped attempts to sketch something resembling joy while carrying the heavy weight of loss.
Our children were taken from us, and our homes have been destroyed. What are we even doing? Are we just deceiving ourselves? Tomorrow, after the first day of Eid, you'll find me out in the wilderness, sitting and crying. We are a devastated people. I am one of them, a woman with a heavy heart, grieving because my children are gone. Grieving because my children are gone and my home has been ruined and destroyed.
Within the fragile walls of a makeshift tent, this displaced Palestinian mother is searching in a pile of old clothes for anything her children can wear for Eid.
I wish I could get over everything for them, but the situation doesn't allow it. On days like these, when I was still in my home, I used to give them whatever they wished for. I could see the joy on their faces, dressing them in the best clothes. My husband and I used to share what we had, feed others, and live with a sense of happiness. None of that is happening now. The situation isn't only on me, it's on everyone.
The occupied West Bank was not spared from deprivation, as residents continue to face repeated attacks and theft of livestock by settlers backed by the occupation forces, preventing them from performing their religious rituals.
The residents are left with nothing. They cannot sell, they cannot have sacrificial animals, and they cannot perform the Eid sacrifice. What should have been part of the joy of Eid, the presence of livestock and the act of sacrifice, is gone today. They have neither animals to sacrifice, nor any herd left.
Inside this livestock market, the few remaining sheep stand as a stark reminder of scarcity, and Palestinians find themselves unable to afford them due to soaring prices.
The turnout for livestock in the market today does not exceed 5%. The reason is the extremely difficult financial situation facing Palestinian citizens, with a severe lack of available cash alongside the extremely high prices.
The Zionist occupation's genocidal war in the besieged enclave has deprived Palestinians of every joy that Eid once brought. They still, however, hold on to faint, broken pieces of celebration.
Still with Gaza-related news, 9 Palestinians were killed and others wounded in Zionist airstrikes on the Gaza Strip on Tuesday. Zionist warplanes struck displaced people in the Maghazi camp and the Zwaida area in central Gaza, killing 6 and injuring others. In southern Gaza, 2 were killed when a vehicle was hit west of Khan Yunis, while a child died from wounds sustained in a Monday strike on Al-Mawasi. On Tuesday night, another strike by Zionist occupation west of Gaza City leveled a building in the Rimal neighborhood, leaving more casualties. In Lebanon, at least 21 Lebanese were killed Tuesday in new massacres by Zionist forces. Dozens more wounded. The health ministry said the death toll from the bombing in western Bekaa Valley rose to 14. In the Tyre district, rescuers pulled the bodies of 4 women from under a destroyed house in Maraka. 2 paramedics were killed and 2 wounded in a strike on an ambulance center in Srifa. And 1 person was killed in a bombing of Khirbat Salam in southern Lebanon's Bindijbil district. The WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said on Tuesday that continued Israeli strikes on Lebanon's health sector are undermining its ability to meet medical needs and deliver essential services. In a post on social media after meeting Lebanon's health minister in Geneva, he said the WHO will continue supporting healthcare delivery and called for respect of the ceasefire agreement. Turning to other news now, Algeria's National People's Assembly Speaker Brahim Bouhadi was received in Minsk on Tuesday by Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko. A statement from the Algerian parliament said Lukashenko expressed full openness toward Algeria and voiced support for building strong bilateral ties among the best in Africa. He also highlighted the depth of relations following his recent visit to Algeria and meeting with President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmadjid Tebboune, saying he is committed to implementing agreed decisions to advance cooperation.
I would like the outcomes of this visit to be productive from a professional standpoint. We are completely open to your country and we greatly wish to establish advanced and very serious relations with you, perhaps the best among all African countries. You know that in North, Central and Southern Africa, we have countries that we seek to rely on in our cooperation with your African region. It would be very good if Algeria were one of these countries. During the negotiations with the Algerian president, I became convinced that our economies are fully complementary and that we can cooperate in developing the sectors that we are in urgent need of.
Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko expressed appreciation for President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmadjid Tebboune, in Algeria, underscoring its regional and international role. He noted alignment on key international issues and praised coordination between the 2 countries, calling for stronger communication and more reciprocal visits to advance shared interests.
The strongest impression that remained with me about Algeria was my meeting with the president. I liked him very much. I see that he is a very experienced and smart man. We can accomplish many things if he continues pursuing the policy he is currently following. Therefore, convey to him my warmest and sincerest greetings and best wishes.
Algeria's National Assembly Speaker Azouz Nasri said on Tuesday that Algeria, under President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmadjid Tebboune, will remain committed to supporting Africa and defending its just causes. Speaking at a Pan-African Parliament Bureau meeting held by video conference, he said Algeria's stance is rooted in the belief that Africa's strength lies in unity and solidarity. He also reaffirmed Algerians' pride in their African identity and their commitment to strengthening cooperation and integration across the continent.
I would like to assure you that Algeria, under the leadership of President Abdelmadjid Tebboune, will remain faithful to its firm and principled stance in support of the African continent. Algeria also remains permanently and steadfastly committed to defending its just causes and supporting efforts towards peace, development, and African integration in a manner that enhances the continent's standing and leading role in the world, stemming from a deep conviction that Africa's strength lies in the unity of its possessions and the solidarity of its people.
Pan-African Parliament President Fattah Bouteflika warned against what he described as foreign entities targeting African unity in service of external agendas. In an interview with All 24 News TV channel, he said Africa is being targeted by lobbies, groups, and states through what he called unjust international policies, stressing the need to strengthen continental unity to face these challenges.
We're talking about foreign actors, mercenaries, and lobbies from outside the African continent that seek to drive another dagger into Africa in order to undermine the continent's unity and spread division in service of external agendas. Today, Africa has clearly become a target of interest for many lobbies, groups, and countries within the framework of international politics, which can at times be ruthless. Many countries are struggling under heavy external debt and remain trapped by the constraints and conditions imposed by financial institutions, conditions that in reality only deepen Africa's weakness. Unless the continent can raise a strong voice, achieve unity, build a shared vision, and speak with one powerful voice, these challenges will continue.
Sahrawi President Ibrahim Ghali said the unity of the Sahrawi people remains their strongest weapon against attempts to bypass the legal nature of the issue. In an Eid al-Adha message to the Sahrawi political prisoners held in Moroccan jails, he praised their determination and reaffirmed that the right to self-determination is inalienable, non-negotiable, and cannot be delegated.
The Sahrawi people have demonstrated with unwavering strength, enthusiasm and unity around the goals and principles of their sole and legitimate representative, the Polisario Front, their firm resolve to achieve their legitimate right to freedom and independence, like all other peoples of the world. This comprehensive national unity of all Sahrawi men and women is their decisive weapon against all conspiracies and malicious attempts to circumvent the legal nature of the Sahrawi cause, and in particular, the inalienable, non-negotiable and non-delegable principle of self-determination.
Similarly, President Ghali pledged the Sahrawi state will stand up for detainees in Moroccan prisons, demand their release, and expose the violations. He called it a diplomatic and human rights priority.
The Sahrawi state, the Polisario Front, all our people and all our brothers and friends of our national cause around the world will remain fully mobilized, with determination and resolve to defend the civilian prisoners and their families. The demand for your release will remain a constant priority at the forefront of our national diplomatic and human rights efforts. Your people will spare no effort in continuing the national and international campaign for your freedom and in exposing to the world the violations you are subjected to.
And now it is time to catch up on more international news stories in the News in Brief with Safian Kanturi this time.
At least 14 Sudanese civilians were killed and several others injured in a drone strike targeting a market in the Sudanese border town of Atina, near Chad. According to agence France Presse, citing local sources, the attack was attributed to rapid support forces and resulted in dozens of casualties, most of them women and children. On the ground, Russian Ministry of Defense announced that its forces had taken control of two new localities in the Sumy region in eastern Ukraine. According to the ministry statement released Tuesday, Russian troops captured the towns of Sapsilia and Ryaznoye in Sumy province. The foreign ministers of Quad Alliance countries agreed on Tuesday in New Delhi to launch a joint strategic initiative aimed at strengthening energy security in the Indo-Pacific region and establishing a unified framework for critical minerals. Speaking after the meeting, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said the framework would help member states maximize the use of economic policy tools and coordinate joint investments. The Algerian national football team has begun its training camp at the technical center of Sidi Moussa in preparation for the 2026 FIFA World Cup, which will be jointly hosted by the United States, Canada, and Mexico. The Greens held their first training session on Monday under the supervision of coach Vladimir Petkovic, with 22 players in attendance, in an atmosphere marked by seriousness and focus, officially launching preparations for the World Cup.
And that wraps up our news program. Thank you for watching. Do take care.